Hello, MEMIC family. My name is Matthew Raduechel, and I am an associate principal at John Muir Middle School in Wausau, Wisconsin. As a member of the Wausau School District for the 21-22 school year, I was acknowledged as the associate principal of the year for the state of Wisconsin. And as one of the sponsors of that award, MEMIC asked me to share something with you today. And since the parameters were given to me, were open to me, I really wanted to make sure that I shared something that was meaningful to me both personally and professionally, but then also something that you might be able to use in your own context. So before I get into what it actually is, I want to give you a little bit of background on what you're looking at and where it came from. So we deal with a lot of behaviors in my setting as a middle school associate principal, as you might expect. And we use what's called restorative practices. And really what restorative practices are is a structure by which we work with our students to make changes, to fix problems, and to restore relationships when things go wrong. And through this process, I've been able to become a certified trainer of restorative practices through the International Institute for Restorative Practices. I've been able to lead several professional development sessions with our staff here and really move our building in this way of dealing with behaviors in the most positive and pro-social way that we can. So the reason that I'm sharing this with you today is because I feel like this is something that you can use in whatever context that you're viewing this for. And I can see us using this in several different ways. Obviously here in a school setting, we're dealing with students. And as an administrator, we have several staff members that are under me that I lead as well. I can see you using this as a parent in leading your own children, or even as an employer with a team of people underneath you. And the reason that I think that this will be useful is because all we're talking about is behavioral change. And I think in all of our contexts, we want the highest quality product that we can out of the people that we're leading. So when we're looking at this, we really want to offer as much support to those folks as we possibly can, but we also want to maintain high expectations. So how do we do that? Well, we know that individuals, and you can even think about yourself, the greatest learning experience that you probably ever had was one where the leader did the activity with you and guided you and supported you and showed you what those expectations really are. They didn't necessarily punish you, and they certainly didn't do it for you. And that's really what this social discipline window is. It's a structure by which to view these behavior changes for the folks that you're working with. Now, when you look at the social discipline window, obviously it's called a window because it looks like a 4-pane window. And we're not really going to talk about the lower left pane because we don't want to be neglectful. We want to make sure that when we see things and we want to make change, that we address it, and we address it in the most positive way that we can. So when I work through this, I'll probably work at the upper left corner in that punitive window first to say, when I look at a punitive, you're looking at that high expectation with very little support. And when I view that, I see that as an employer, let's say, walking into my office and saying, you need to get this done by Friday or else. And there's a lot of expectation wrapped up in that statement with not a lot of support. And it may be efficient, it may be effective to a certain degree, but in the long term, it's not really creating that positive and pro-social environment that you really want out of your organization. On the flip side of that, there's the bottom right corner, which is the permissiveness window. And that's really the context where I think of it as an employer that's walking into a situation where things aren't getting done to the expectation level that they want, and it's a lot more effective and efficient maybe just to do it yourself. And I think we've all been there in certain contexts where you walk in and it's just easier. I'll get it done. It'll get done fast. It'll get done the way I want it to get done. But again, in the long term, for whatever organizational goals that you have, that's not going to be effective. Especially if you're a leader. If you're a leader, you have other responsibilities going on. And taking time out to do other people's work isn't going to move you forward in those goals that you have. And that's really where the restorative pain comes in, because that's the sweet spot. Especially if you're talking about changing behavior in the initial stages, you really want to do things with the people that you're leading, because you can be there as that resource. You can answer questions. You can provide support. You can help them in any way that you can. But then at the same time, you can also provide that quality control and really show what quality looks like and maintain that quality through that entire process. And in the long term, that'll give you the structure by which you can release a lot of that control, because eventually that employee, that student, that child is really going to be able to do it on their own. And that's really the context that we do a lot of things through here. When we're talking about student discipline, we know that to change an individual's behavior, it's a long process, and it takes time, and it takes caring. And in the restorative window, we know that we're building relationships and building rapport because we're doing it together. And sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it takes a little bit more organization, but we do know in the long term it is most effective, and it is what's best for our students. And it is setting them up for later in life so that they can do those pro-social activities on their own with little guidance, and eventually they're doing it on their own. My hope is that you can maybe take one scenario that maybe you're currently working through either at work or at home or at school, and apply this concept of, if I need behavior change, I really need to work with the person. So if I'm a boss, if I'm an employer, and things aren't getting done the way that I really think that they should, how can I use this support model or the expectation model to really walk alongside this employee and guide them through the process, so that eventually I can leave them alone and they can get it done on their own with the high expectations that we are really looking for. If you're a parent, there's a lot of context that you could use this for as well. I always think about chores with my children, washing dishes, and I wash and they rinse, or I wash and they dry, and then eventually they wash and I dry, and then eventually they're doing it all on their own. And that's really what we want for them. My hope is you'll be able to use this as a structure, as a model for whatever that you're currently thinking of. And if you have any questions about it, I would love to help. I would love to walk you through it. I'd love to get you in touch with other resources if I can. If you want to give me a call, you certainly can. Here in my office, my number is 715-261-0104. And my email address is all lowercase letters at mraduech@wausauschools.org. If I can help in any way, I certainly would be willing to, because this has been a tremendous help for me personally and professionally, and I've used it in both contexts. And it does work. It works quite effectively for not only getting things done, getting them done effectively, but then also maintaining those positive and pro-social relationships that you want with your children, your students, or your employees. Please give me a call if you feel like you need to. Otherwise, I really appreciate MEMIC reaching out to me and asking me to share this with you, and I hope you really got something out of this video. Thank you for watching, and have a great rest of your day.